What's up, A-Plusters, as well as WrestleManiacs? Boy, oh boy, has the landscape changed in the last 2 days. To quote Vince McMahon himself, I think when we want to call it the draft, it's time to shake things up again, and things have been shook. We've got two new breaking news stories here in the last 2 days. We have Sting's announcing his retirement at Revolution 2024, as well as the resurgence of the NWA onto the television screens on the CW network. And it's me here, Josh, as well as Datila, the toast of the West Coast herself. Datila, how you doing tonight? How are you handling these ground-shaking news?
I'm doing great. And honestly, I was really surprised that wow, the NWA got a TV deal because I was not expecting that. I don't think anybody was.
No, I mean, because I think Corgan has owned the NWA for, oh gosh, I know it's at least four or 5 years probably. Again, I remember watching it when it first kind of debuted on YouTube. They kind of were cutesy, kind of giving the studio wrestling thing kind of the background again. And it was nice to see, but I kind of thought this is going to be a little niche product, never going to be on television, especially just with the whole, WWE basically owning the market and then AEW coming along, and you had Impact and TNA at the time. So really, I would have never guessed the NWA would have ever returned, especially given that, they had some names come through. They had Cody Rhodes come through. They had, I believe, Nick Aldis, who is now our new SmackDown general manager, um, NWA champion as well. But really, there was no big major star, I wouldn't say. But wow. All I could say was, wow, when I read that, I would have never guessed, especially the CW network. Because if we look at that network, that is what the top 20 television station networks right now. And even SmackDown was on it a couple years ago. Probably, well, I say a couple, probably about 10 years, probably at this point now. But what a shock. Again, I would have never guessed this was going to happen. AEW is in trouble. Let's just put it because I mean, if you look at it really, and I jokingly say that in jest, of course, Datala. So again, I'm not serious when I say they're in trouble. Really, it's more of just if you look at the fact that we never really thought TNA was ever going to really compete with WWE. They tried, but they really couldn't get it. And WWE is so far ahead in the race. Really, I jokingly say again, so don't get your blow torches after me or pitchforks. I only say that because again, now there is another viable television option. It's not just AEW. Now there's another alternative, albeit niche. You're still going to have a little bit of viewership probably bleed over depending on what night they choose. Now, if they do a Sunday night, not going to matter. But again, I think I mentioned to you, Dotla, earlier that you really never saw any NWA crossover with AEW. You saw Impact and JPW, but I thought it was strange. NWA never really had a crossover. So again, joking only. AEW, I'm sure will be fine with the billionaires' money, but it's definitely going to cut a little bit into their market somehow.
That is true, especially depending on what day NWA chooses to air. Like you said, it could be Sunday, could be Friday. I guess we just have to wait and see. But the CW is kind of in an odd place right now because I remember, like, I'm going to show my age here, but I remember when the CW was a WB and they had kids WB, like in the afternoon,
Yep.
kids WB in the weekends, especially Saturday. Then they had all those shows like Charmed, Reba, Everwood. Showing my age here, people.
I can't say anything. My wife and I are rewatching Reba on Hulu right now, so I can't say anything about that. So
And then you had this period where the CW, when the WB became the CW, they got Friday Night SmackDown. And then they started canceling all those shows and they got the superhero shows. Smallville was the first one. And then
right.
from Smallville, we got all these other shows. And then right now, I believe there's no superhero shows on the CW right now, right?
I don't believe so. Again, I've not watched the CW. I mean, I've unplugged for a long time now, but I don't believe so. And again, I always thought it was strange that you had Gilmore Girls and a lead into from Charm to WWE. Again, maybe they were hoping to capture the boyfriend and the girlfriend that the boyfriend's forced to watch Charmed, right? And so if he
Charm
watches
was a good
Charmed, maybe
show.
I'm not. Oh no, not dissing it at all. I'm just saying maybe that was the design that the boyfriend likes wrestling, will sit and watch Charmed with his girlfriend. If she'll join him, hoping maybe she'll end up falling in love with WWE. I mean, again, I can't say that for sure. I wasn't there, but maybe that was the design.
This is going to be very interesting because I don't watch TV outside of wrestling. I don't really watch TV, so I don't even know what's on the CW right now. So it will be interesting to see what leads into NWA. Kind of like how USA Network uses Monday Night Raw to like promote other shows. Like Chrisley Knows Best was a huge one that they would promote.
Yes.
So it'd be interesting to see what the CW uses the NWA for. Maybe to promote their shows.
Especially getting that 18 to 34 demographic. I mean, again, is everybody going to watch NCIS leading into Raw? No, probably not. But I remember back in the day, it was La Femme Nikita, I believe, before or after Raw, back in the Attitude Era. And that was kind of a show with a strong female lead. But again, it was designed for 18 to 34-year-old males. And so, again, it is a really interesting thing you put. I didn't even think about that. What's going to lead to NWA Power? And again, I always find, what are they going to do when they open their first show on NWA Power? Are they going to reference the history? Are they going to pretend like it's a new promotion? Are they going to keep the studio wrestling environment? Are they going to change completely?
I think those are all very interesting questions. So depending on the day and time, I might actually just check out the debut episode. What about you?
Oh, definitely I will. I mean, I remember watching the debut episode of NWA Power when it appeared on YouTube, and it was an hour. It wasn't bad. Again, it was a lot of mid-carders from WWE, some of the unknowns. You had Damian Sandow on there, who I can't remember for the Aaron Stevens, I think is the name he goes by. Trevor Murdoch has been NWA World Champion. Tyrus took the belt on Fox Network, which I thought was crazy. But, hey, it is what it is. Whatever he gets talking about, right? I definitely am intrigued, to say the least. This year has just been crazy. I mean, think about it. We've got Vince out of creative, Triple H over creative, the sale of WWE, AEW, the whole Punk drama back in and out, as well as Adam Copeland debuting. Now Sting's retiring and the NWA is returning. 2023 is going to be one for the history books already, and we're not even done yet. We got 2 months left.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see what is in store for us in 2024. If all this happened in 2023, just imagine what's in store for us in 2024.
I mean, are we going to have Punk show up in Chicago at Survivor Series? Is he going to show up at Impact at Bound for Glory? Who knows?
I was just about to say that. I was like, we got 2 shows in Chicago, Bound for Glory this weekend and Survivor Series in November.
And again, that's a whole nother conversation, but just the idea of the NWA. And I kind of jokingly thought to myself, surely they're not going to try to go live at 6:05 on a Saturday. I mean, they could. I mean, it would historically make sense. If they kept the show an hour, they would have a 5-minute bleed over into Collision. But I don't know. I would be really curious to see if they do it. I think it would be interesting, but I don't know. Sunday's the only day, unless the wrestling pay-per-views are on, or the premium live events, I should say now, or AEW pay-per-views. I don't know. I would like a Sunday afternoon show. I think it'd be neat.
Oh my God. That would mean they would be wrestling on every single day of the week, Sunday through Saturday. And if you cover wrestling like I do, it's like, wow, you would have a full work week.
I know, exactly. I think it would be neat because it's something that, I'll be honest, I missed having heat on Sunday nights. I missed having Velocity on Saturdays. I miss those type of times because I'm just home anyways. If I'm not watching Shrek with my toddler for the 1,000th time or watching something else with my wife, we always watch wrestling. So I like the idea of having a Sunday night show that, again, I don't know, it kind of rolls off the tongue. Sunday night, 6:05 p.m. I don't know. It would be kind of a neat homage to the history of the NWA. And again, the day, I think the same day, unless I'm wrong, we have an NWA legend, Sting, retiring. Let's talk about that.
Right. So on Dynamite, Sting came out and he announced that he was going to retire in 2024. So he said his first match in AEW was at Revolution 2021, and his final match in AEW will be at Revolution 2024. So depending on where Revolution is, I would gladly be there. I was at this year's Revolution, which was up in the Bay Area. It was nice. Really great. It was a really fun show. So I definitely would go to Revolution for Sting's final match. But who do you think his opponent's going to be?
I think because their partnership has lasted so long, I would think the way to do it would have to be Darby Allin. Now, again, is it believable Darby Allin, little Darby Allin, would beat Sting? Yes, because of his age. And I think that the idea is that kind of gives him the rub. And he referenced Flair giving him the rub way back when at, I think it was Great American Bash and all those other ones. And I believe, oh gosh, the name escapes me, but the NWA pay-per-view as well that, they had a 60-minute time limit draw on. So I definitely think Darby Allin would make the most sense in terms of mentorship because it's the student finally surpassing the master, and Sting's taught him all he knows. Now, again, the buildup would be strange. It would literally be, I want to challenge you as my last opponent, shake hands, we're good to go, passing the torch. My vote would be Darby Allin. I mean, unless for whatever crazy reason they have him win the AEW World Title, just to have that last feather in his cap and retire. But I don't know if it's worth it at that point.
Everybody keeps saying Darby Allin, and I have to agree with you. I think it's Darby Allin. I can't think of anybody else that would be perfect for Sting's final match. I think it's definitely going to be Darby Allin. I think he's definitely going to put him over.
I mean, would I like to see Sting win the world title? The nostalgia in me would think it'd be neat for he would be the only person in history, at least right now, that would have been the WCW champion and the AEW champion and NWA champion. Never was WWE champion. But again, how do you book that story? It's kind of like when they made Bret Hart the United States champion when he returned to WWE. It was like, it was great, but where do you go from there? It's pretty much just retiring the title and resetting everything. And with MJF being on fire right now, I don't imagine him losing it unless by some chicanery from the Adam Cole thing. But again, that's a whole nother conversation. But I don't know. Sting retiring of his own volition, while strange, is the right way to go instead of being forced.
Yeah, he actually brought that up. He brought up his 2015 retirement. He said that didn't sit well with him.
Right.
So this time he's going out on his terms.
Do you know what's crazy about this now that I think about it? I think somebody highlighted this. Sting, Saraya, Adam Copeland, Bryan Danielson all had to retire at one time from WWE due to neck issues. So it's very interesting that they've all kind of come back from their retirement and are all in the same individual organization. So I don't know.
That is interesting.
Strange. Well, and I think, isn't the rumor that Danielson is supposed to retire somewhat soon too?
Again, he said that he promised his daughter that he would retire by her 7th birthday, and she turns 7 this upcoming May. So
wow. Could we have a retirement show for both of them at Revolution? Again, don't know, but
well, if Bryan retires in May, it would be a double or nothing.
Right, that's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right. But can you imagine losing both of them in the same year?
Yeah.
And then the real question, and this ties into the NWA power again, depending on if Tony Khan is friends with Billy Corgan or not. I mean, do I think Sting could have showed up at NWA Power 1 on YouTube? Yes. Do I think Tony Khan will lend Sting out to NWA Power on another television network? Unfortunately, that dream is not going to happen. I would love to see it. I would love to see it just because of the history, because Flair had showed up at NWA Power before his retirement match. And again, who knows? Maybe Ric Flair is going to try to say, let me fight Sting one more time. Because he did say he wanted one more match. They could both retire. But again, I don't think Khan's going to go for that either. He's booked Darby Allin with him since the beginning. So it only makes sense.
It sucks that we never got Sting versus The Undertaker. Even if it would have been a cinematic match, I would have been happy with that. But it just sucks we never got that match. That was such a match that everybody wanted, and we never got it.
I think that perfect time would have been when Undertaker was his big evil persona. It had been in 2002. That'd have been perfect. Had he showed up and saved Hogan from Taker when he took the undisputed title from him at Judgment Day 02, and it led to a SummerSlam match. Oh, even WrestleMania. Again, I fantasy booking here, but again, I thought that would have been the perfect time. But again, I'm somewhat sad to see Sting go. Again, I'm used to him on my television again, and now it's like, oh, he's leaving.
Yeah, it sucks to see him go, but at least he's going out on his terms, and he's not being forced to. So,
right. I mean, if you realize in the next 10 years, I dare say who we're going to lose, and again, not to bring it down, just more Danielson, Sting, and then whoever else is down the pipeline. But we've got so much talent coming up. I don't know. Again, I'd be curious to see what we're going to look at in 2030, let's say, and say, okay, this was the era of whatever the comebacks, right? And then we have somebody new. I don't know. I'm very intrigued because MJF's what, in his late 20s, and so we're going to have him around for, oh gosh, to be 25 again. I mean, we're going to have him for at least another 20, 30, 40, 50 something years. Can you imagine? And so I don't know. Again, this I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but I think it's 2024 is going to be a very, very interesting year.
Yeah, I definitely do have to agree with you. I think 2024 is going to be an interesting year. And I'm very curious to see what else happens in 2024. Like you said, we got Sting retiring, Bryan Danielson retiring. What else could happen?
What's interesting, I think, is I'd watched the Kevin Nash podcast, and he talked about he's not currently signed to WWE, nor is Goldberg. Now, again, do I imagine Goldberg will show up on NWA Power? No, I don't think so. Again, I would be shocked. AEW? Could be, especially him and Sting are good friends. Kevin Nash the same way. Could they just show up as part of a retirement party? Again, I don't know, but I definitely think it's going to be an interesting thing. And again, on top of that, I think there was an announcement that Tony Khan's going to have a gift for Sting on next week's Dynamite. So I'm curious what that's going to be.
Yeah, he is going to have a... Yeah, I do wonder what that's going to be about.
Especially so early, because it's not like it's the week before his retirement. He's got a couple of months. What, in March? So what, October, November, December, January, February? We've got 5 months left of Sting still. So we're not in any way, shape, or form done. I'm just curious how many matches he's going to have in between that time.
Yeah, same here. I'm very curious. So.
Well, we also look at Adam Copeland and Christian Cage as well. And Adam Copeland's saying, let's end our careers in AEW as tag team champions and going against these tag teams. So I don't know. Again, I don't think we're going to lose them that quickly. But again, it's just a very... I'm sorry. I'm still just in shock in a way that we're going to have NWA back on television. I mean, that is the craziest thing because they disappeared when WCW arose out of the ashes of the NWA when Ted Turner bought the company. So what, 88, 98, 08, 18, 20? I mean, we're almost 40 years ago and they're coming back.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have NWA getting a TV deal on my bingo card.
Granted, TNA technically was NWA TNA when they first debuted, and they had the NWA title for quite a while, I guess for the first 3 years of their existence on television until they had their own TNA heavyweight championship. But still, just, I don't know. It's the gift that keeps on giving, I guess, the NWA. I guess I'd call it that. Well, again, to quote Sting, I think, and he really said it best, not only for himself, really, but his famous line is, one thing about Sting is nothing's for sure. This time he said it's for sure. But what we can say about the industry now is nothing's for sure anymore.
Never say never.
Never, exactly. Never say never. Together, what is it? Together forever, right? Maybe that's the new tagline. Never, ever, together forever. Something like that. Well, Datila, I guess, where can we find you? What have you got going on? And, how can we interact with you?
All right, well, you can follow me on Twitter at @Datila_. I like tweeting all the shows. So if you watch Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Impact Wrestling, AEW Rampage, that's your best place to find me. I do have my own YouTube channel called Rangers of Wrestling, where I do cover professional wrestling on a weekly basis. Like I said earlier, Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, the Impact pay-per-views. We do have Impact's Bound for Glory this Saturday, so I will be covering that. And I also like Power Rangers, and I have done some Power Rangers content, so if you want to check that out, feel free to check that out.
Great. Awesome. Well, again, that's amazing. And again, you make sure to like and follow and subscribe and hit the notification bell and do all the social media things that, Datila does. She is very responsive, always answers questions, and we're definitely up for requests, anything like that. You can find me at Gamer Peroski on Twitter. I guess it's X, whatever it's called. Twitter X, I guess I'd call it. For now, we've got, again, so much stuff coming up. Again, you'll be seeing us all again soon. And I guess for now, for myself, Josh, and Datila, if you want to kind of take us out, the toast to the West Coast.
Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified not only when this video drops, but when A+ Hero Report goes live or releases content. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
See you later.